Now, when we talk about recession, let's make sure that we're talking the same language here. At ITR, we divide the business cycle into these four main parts. We have phase A, recovery, phase B, accelerating growth, phase C, slowing growth, and phase D, recession. What we're looking at here is a zero line. Think back to our 12/12 rate of change. So you're comparing your most recent 12 months of data to the 12 months before that. Now you can see, depending on where that 12/12 rate of change is it below zero or above zero? And is it rising or declining? That tells you what phase of the business cycle you're in. So right now, a lot of industries and segments of the market are in either late phase B or early phase C. They're above the year ago level, but the rate of growth is just beginning to creep over. Some of them already are in phase C, some of them will be very, very soon. Now, the real question is whether we're headed for what we call a hard landing. That means at ITR that we're going to go below the zero line into phase D, recession. We'll see that rate of contraction get worse and worse before we dip into a phase A, recovery trend. That means the 12/12 rate of change is starting to creep up, but is still negative. Or are we going to see us go straight from phase C, slowing growth, right back into phase B, accelerating growth? That's the question. We call phase C back into phase B, we call that a soft landing because the 12/12 rate of change never dips below the zero line. Or do we see the hard landing where it goes below zero? So that's what we're talking about here today is, are we going to see that phase D develop in the macroeconomy, or will we just see phase C? And the answer is just phase C. When we look at our dashboard of 12 key leading indicators, they're clearly pointing, convincingly pointing, that we're going to see some deceleration in the economy. The reduction in these leading indicators gives a broad swath of inputs that tells us that growth rates will be lower in 2022 than they were in 2021. That's not necessarily a cause for alarm. 2021 was an exceptional year. And just because the growth rates will be coming back closer to normal does not mean that we should all be running for the exit signs for our businesses or as consumers. It just means that we're going to see spending normalize a bit, activity normalize a bit. What does that look like on a chart? Well, here we're looking at real GDP, our 3-month moving average, or 3MMA as we like to call it. The dark blue lines are the actual history, and the teal colored lines off to the right there are telling you our forecast. And what we can see is that the 3-month moving average is going to start beginning to slow in its rate of rise. If you look at the rate of rise, it'll keep slowing. It's been slowing since about the middle of 2021. It's going to keep slowing into about early 2023. And you can see at the very bottom of the cycle, we're going to have almost flat GDP, real GDP, before all of a sudden activity is going to creep back up and we'll start reaccelerating. So we don't think in this cycle that we're going to see a recession. We are going to stay above that zero line. We're going to have a soft landing in the US economy for real GDP. That doesn't mean that every single market is going to stay above the zero line. Some of them are going to have hard landings. Almost all of those are going to be pretty mild recessions, but a number of other markets are going to stay above the zero line.